Welcome to Charting with Dill, and I am your host, Dill. And this last weekend, we saw two new films open in domestic release, both being sequels, both having drastically different openings. Starting with Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, whom opened atop the domestic charts, however, falling short of expectations and saw a major drop in franchise opening weekend totals. Mistress of Evil opened in 3,790 theaters and racked up $36.9 million, while the first installment, Maleficent, opened in 3,948 theaters in May of 2014 to an opening weekend of $69.4 million. That's a nearly $30 million drop between the installments, which is never a good sign for a franchise, especially one that increased their budget from movie to movie, going from $180 million to $185 million. Another negative for the Angelina Jolie starring film was it went into the weekend with projections of high 40s, low 50s, and it fell drastically short. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil will look for legs with the family demographic in weeks to come. If we look at the film star Angelina Jolie's live-action domestic openings, Mistress of Evil barely sneaks in, edging out 2010's Salt by less than $900,000. Mistress of Evil finds itself in fifth, miles behind the film's predecessor, Maleficent, which tops the chart with $69.4 million back in 2014. In second is Jolie's 2008 action film Wanted, which opened at $50.9 million, barely beating out Jolie and Brad Pitt's collaborative film Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The rom-com opened in 2005 with $50.3 million. And in fourth, which is the film I would probably say is Jolie's most iconic role as Lara Croft in 2001's Lara Croft Tomb Raider with $47.7 million. And as previously mentioned, Mistress of Evil finds itself barely in the top 5 with $36.9 million. The other new film in wide domestic release was a different story. The R-rated comedy thriller Zombieland Double Tap opened in 3,468 theaters and grossed for $26.8 million over the three-day weekend. Unlike Mistress of Evil, Double Tap increased on its projections this week, and the opening of the 2009 predecessors, Zombieland's $24.7 million in 3,036 theaters. Zombieland went on to gross for $75.5 million domestically. The original scored an A- cinema score on the charts, while the new installment landed with a B+. It will be interesting to see if the reception of the 2019 installment may limit its legs for weeks to come. However, as previously mentioned, Mistress of Evil did dethrone Joker off of the domestic charts, making $36.9 million, while Joker dropped 47.7% of business, earning $29.2 million in the Joaquin Phoenix starring film's third week of release. However, Joker is still going strong in its attempt to become the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time. Joker will most likely dethrone Deadpool 2 in the worldwide aspect of in this upcoming weekend. Deadpool 2 earned about $785 million, which is currently the record. However, Joker still has some ground to go if it wants to catch 2004's Passion of the Christ total of $370.7 million for the domestic title. In third lands Zombieland Double Tap with $26.8 million. Dropping from second down to fourth is The Addams Family. The animated film saw a drop of 46.1% in its second week of release, which is kind of high for an animated release. However, The Addams Family had a larger opening weekend, which could be a result of the heavier drop. However, The Creepy and Spooky Family still walked away with $16.3 million. Dropping even more was the Will Smith starring and Ang Lee directed Gemini Man, landing in fifth. Gemini Man fell 59.6% to earn $8.3 million and has struggled to find an audience so far. As mentioned last week, the latest film by South Korean director Bong Joon-ho, Parasite, the recipient of this year's Palme d'Or, is killing it in limited release. Last week, the film set multiple records, and to follow that outstanding performance up, Parasite, in its second week of release, the film continues to rack up money in limited release, placing 11th on the charts, earning $1.2 million in just 33 theaters. To put this in perspective, It Chapter 2 earned $1.4 million in 1,528 theaters this previous weekend. While not as large as last weekend, Parasite had a per-theater average of $37.6 thousand. Parasite gained 223.1% of business and will continue to eat away at the theaters while the film continues to roll out domestically. It's one I'm excited to catch. Also opening this weekend in limited release, one of my most anticipated films of the remainder of the year, The Lighthouse, opened in 8 theaters to $419,000. I look forward to catching this film in weeks to come, whether it expands to somewhere that isn't LA, New York, DC, San Francisco, or Chicago. Then in just 5 theaters, the winner of the Toronto International Film Festival, the recipient of the People's Choice Award, Jojo Rabbit, earned $349,000. I look forward to catching Taika Waititi's new film this weekend at the Virginia Film Festival alongside Waves, Just Mercy, and Marriage Story. Then a film which opened during the week was Jay and Silent Bob: The Reboot, which killed it at its one theater it opened in New Jersey. The Reboot scored $93.5 thousand, and like I said, just one theater. This previous weekend was a great one for films in limited release, with 4 films doing very well in just a handful of theaters. Keep an eye out for all 4 of these films as they continue to expand throughout the weeks to come. In the 8th weekend of the fall box office season, It Chapter 2's reign on top has come to a close after 7 weeks. A new clown is in town as Joker overtakes Pennywise in his 3rd week of release. Joker has made $247.2 million to take the top spot. It Chapter 2 drops to second, earning $209.6 million. Eclipsing $100 million in third is Styx Entertainment's Hustlers. Hustlers is up to $101.8 million domestically after 6 weeks, and remaining in 4th is Downton Abbey, in the Royals' 5th week of release. The Focus Features film is up to $88.6 million domestically and is officially the highest-grossing domestic film in studio's history, passing 2005's Brokeback Mountain. Making a major leap this week was The Addams Family. The animated reboot leaped from 8th to 5th, totaling $57 million after 2 weeks of release. And dropping to 6th was Abominable. The animated Yeti film has totaled $53.9 million after 4 weeks. Then, as usual, the duo of Ad Asher and Rambo Last Blood stay neck and neck as they both drop a spot on the chart to 7th and 8th, respectively. Brad Pitt's Ad Asher still has a slight lead over Sylvester Stallone's Rambo Last Blood. The Pitt starring film has accumulated $48.6 million compared to Stallone's $44 million. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil barely edges out Gemini Man. Jolie's film made $36.9 million compared to the Smith starring film that only made $36.3 million on a massive budget of $138 million. 2 new films open wide this upcoming weekend, while 2 others open in undisclosed locations. The 2 new wide-release films look to serve niche audiences as the cop thriller Black and Blue looks to snag lovers of the thriller action audience in over 2,000 theaters, while horror fans will be keeping an eye out for Styx's Countdown. Styx looks to continue the success of Hustlers over the Countdown, opening in 2,600 locations. In undisclosed locations is a film that has had a long journey to the big screen. The Current War Director's Cut, a film about the battle of technology between Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse, has had a nearly 2-year journey to hit wide release. In 2017, the film debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival as a possible Oscar hopeful, but being a film produced by the Weinstein Company, a 2017 winter release date was not really a good marketing push for the film, as 2 years later the Benedict Cumberbatch, Michael Shannon, Tom Holland starring film is finally seeing the light of day. Then, 2 musician films hit limited release. First, in 300 or so theaters, a movie I can't wait to see, the IMAX experience of Jesus is King, a Kanye West film, showcasing one of West's Sunday service events, which, as you can see, I'm wearing one of West's albums, and then Bruce Springsteen's Western Stars in limited release. I'm Dylan McKercher, thanking you for tuning into this edition of Charting with Dill. Check out my Twitter, _Life of Dylan, and Facebook, Charting with Dill, for day-to-day updates throughout the week. And I hope that you come back next week to see if either new release has enough gas to open number 1 on the domestic charts, if Mistress of Evil can remain atop, or if Joker can reclaim the crown.